Here's what I believe. I believe that this draft is the most important draft since the Eagles took the North Dakota Assassin. I believe this draft will greatly impact Carson Wentz's prime years. I believe that the Eagles shouldn't be focusing on filling every roster spot and focus on putting weapons around your franchise quarterback. I even believe that the Tiger King should have been called the Limping Rednecks. They all limped. But even more important, I believe that the Eagles should focus on quality in the draft and not quantity. And if they need to trade up, they should do it.
Still the cowboy, Mr. McLean. You Americans are all alike. But this time, John Wayne doesn't walk into the sunset with Grace Kelly.
Scary Cooper, asshole.
Oh, Diva! Oh, shit! Oh, shit! That was crazy!
Happy trails, Hans. Dallas still stinks. Everybody doing? King Dingbat here, and I hope everybody's having a great day. Hope you guys are doing well. It looks like we got some good news today, guys. It looks like the draft is going to go on as scheduled, even though it's going to be a little different than they've done it in the past. So what they're saying is that it's going to be a virtual draft. So it's going to be like you playing fantasy football and drafting online, I guess, something like that, which could create a lot of problems, confusions, all those kind of things. And it's going to be mixed in with, I guess, like a telethon, that kind of thing. So we're probably going to be waiting forever for these picks to take place. And I'm curious, how are they going to do this? How are they going to be able to maneuver trades and things like that? It's going to be very, very interesting nonetheless. But hey, the draft is going to take place. It's in a few weeks. I will be streaming this draft live, no question about it. So you want to come hang out with me. And also, me and my man, Lord Brunson, we are going to finish our draft board. We're going to talk about it, and it should be done by the end of this week sometime. So look for that to take place. We took a little break during free agency, and with everything going on in free agency, now it's really time to focus in on the draft. And that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing in on this draft. And here's my thing. I am the biggest moron ever. Now, when it comes to the draft, there is nobody who believes in trading up more than me. I believe it to my core. I believe it's the right move. I am so worried about sitting at 21. I think the Eagles are sitting ducks staying at 21. I believe the Eagles have to trade up. Now, that could be 2 spots. That could be 10 spots. I don't care what it is. It just needs to happen so the Eagles can get the best possible player, best possible prospect at the wide receiver position. Now, there's a lot of people that disagree. A lot of the beat writers, a lot of the so-called experts, they disagree. And that's fine. I believe it's the right thing to do because I believe if the Eagles have wisdom, if they really look at themselves honestly, especially Howie Roseman, and he looks at the history of himself drafting wide receivers over the last 10 years, he should realize, hey, we haven't been that great, that accurate doing it. Let's minimize our chance of screwing this up, and let's go for one of the consensus top 3 wide receivers in this draft. Let's go do it and be sure we hit, because I believe that this draft, the Eagles cannot afford to just get an okay guy, to just get a slot wide receiver, to just get a guy who could go through the motions during his rookie contract. We don't need another Nelson Aguilar. We don't need another Arcega-Whiteside. We don't need another Jordan Matthews. We need to hit big time on this draft. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I don't think we should be playing games. Now, I know a lot of people want, hey, we got what? What do we have? 8 picks left? We got 8 picks left. We need every pick to fill every roster spot. But that's not going to happen. You're not going to fill every roster spot in one draft. It's going to take multiple drafts. This draft should be focused on putting weapons around your quarterback. Long-term weapons. Guys who will be with him 5 to 8 years through the course of his prime. And look, the fact that the Eagles didn't make one move in free agency to get a veteran wide receiver or somebody that could come in and play, it really means that they have to find wide receivers in this draft that can play and impact them right away. Now, if you want to hear about all the different receivers and what some of the scouts and people like that think about some of these receivers, I suggest go watch or go listen to Inside the Birds podcast with Jeff Mosher and Adam Kaplan. Fantastic. These guys are fantastic. I think Broads helps them out with production of it. Shout out to my man Broads. But it's fantastic. They have great information, great inside information, and it's fascinating to see what they say about some of these wide receivers. Now, my thing is, I know what they're saying. I hear a lot of the stuff, around the league and from beat writers, but I believe the Eagles can't afford to mess this up. It's just that simple, man. You can't mess this up. All I want is the Eagles to come away with impactful players. And when you look at, like I said, what they've done in free agency, what have they done in free agency to add a veteran wide receiver? At this point, nothing. And because of that, it's even more important to get a wide receiver who's going to play. Now, in their Inside the podcast, I'm not going to go into the whole thing because it was so good. You should just listen to yourself. I'll put the link in the description. But they talked about Judy and Lamb. Impact could start right away. Ruggs is going to need to be a little more worked in to starting right away. However, you'll be able to use him in certain packages, put him on fly routes, things like that. That, will make an immediate impact. Some of the other guys, not so sure. So, I believe that the move the Eagles are going to make, I know, despite all odds, I think they're moving up. I think it's going to happen. I think it makes a lot of sense. Now, there was a report today from Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated, and he said there are teams who are looking to move back. One of the teams was the Lions, one of the teams was the Jaguars, and one of the teams was the Raiders, okay? Now, the Lions pick 3. That the Eagles can't get there. That's more for a team like the Miami Dolphins, somebody like that who wants to trade up, maybe get Tua, okay? However, I think that the Jaguars pick is in play, even though it's going to cost you a lot. And I think that Raiders pick is in play. Now, on Comcast Philly Network, they had a mock draft where the Eagles traded with the Jacksonville Jaguars to get the 9th pick overall to take CeeDee Lamb. The Eagles in that mock, I think they gave a 1st, a 2nd, and a 4th. I think that's what they gave up. Now, if that could get it done, okay, and that is actually accurate and can get it done, which I don't know. I think you may need more. But if it can, then I would say, what would it cost you to get to 12? What would it cost you to get to that Raiders pick? And what Albert Breer said in his article was that the Raiders are looking to get back a 2nd round pick. The Raiders want a second, I guess they lost a 2nd. They would like to get a 2nd back. And they have 2 first round picks. I think they picked 12 and 19. I think it's 19. So they're looking to trade one of those picks, would like to draft in the 20s and recoup a 2nd round pick. So here's what I'm going to do. I think the move to make, okay, I think the trade you should make, and I wouldn't waste any time. I'd do it right now if I could. Because I'll tell you why. Because I don't know how this whole virtual draft's going to be set up. I don't know if it's going to be screwy. Teams are going to be, not communicating well, and you're going to screw up some trade. So get it done now. But if the Raiders are looking to trade out of that 12 spot, that's where I go. I try to go up to 12. Because if you get to 12, you're going to get you're probably going to end up with Judy, okay? I'll take him. I mean, Judy, maybe Lamb, or you're going to get one of the top 3 wide receivers. And that's what I want, okay? I would give my 1st, and I would give my 2nd round pick. I would definitely do it. I would do it. I still have a 3rd. I have 3 4ths. I can get that 3rd and that 4th. I can move back into the 2nd round. But I would do it. And then if the Eagles want to get a little creative, maybe you do something like you trade your 21st overall pick, your third round pick this year, and then maybe you're a 3rd round pick in 2021 or a 2nd round pick in 2021. I have no problem trading my 1st and 3rd this year, and then my 2nd in 2021, getting me to 12, and then I still have my 1st, I still have my 2nd, I still have 3 4s to get back into the 3rd round if I need to. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen? Like I keep saying to people, and those who say in this video who are going to respond in the comment section, We don't need to trade up. We need to stay where we are. I just want you to answer me one question. One question, because I never get an answer to this. Nobody answers this question. You're sitting at 21. 4 receivers are off the board. Who do you trust to make the right pick at wide receiver? Not everybody is going to be successful. Not every player is going to make it. There will be busts in this draft. It always happens. Who do you pick? Who do you trust to pick that 4th wide receiver, or that 5th wide receiver possibly, maybe 6? Or those that say, hey, take Patrick Queen, a linebacker, or a defense. Don't even draft the receiver if so many go off the board early. Who do you trust to pick the receiver in the 2nd round? The history tells us one thing. The Eagles don't do a good job drafting wide receivers. And that's not a slight on Howie Roseman, and it's not saying any, it's just the truth. Just go look at his draft pick over the last 10 years at wide receiver. Under Howie Roseman, there has only been one wide receiver who received a contract extension, and that is in 10 years. Okay? Riley Pooper, who stinks, got one. Why? I have no idea. Why anybody would have given him a contract extension, I have no idea. But he got one. I don't know why, but it's crazy. And to me, that's how bad it's been. And Howie Roseman does a lot of good things with trades and contracts and other positions. But man, at wide receiver, you can't miss this. You cannot miss this pick. You cannot miss this draft on wide receivers. It's one of the deepest wide receiver drafts possibly in history or in a long time. You can't mess around, man. You cannot mess around. Let's focus in. Get the guy who is the best prospect, the guy who teams around the league, consensus, say is one of the top 3 guys, has the best chance to be successful. Let's take out the big decision making of the first wide receiver we choose. We're going to choose 2 wide receivers. Okay, Howie's going to have to come through, whether it's the 2nd round or the 3rd round, in drafting a wide receiver. No question about it. But we can't afford to miss on the first one. And we can't afford to get a guy who is just a pretty good receiver. He's just an average receiver. He's just he's a decent guy. He can play the slot. You know, we need to hit on that first pick, okay? Now, I admit, there are some guys out there who I really like. I like Denzel Mims. I mean, I'm fascinated by Denzel Mims. I think that he could end up being the best receiver in the draft. He has that much talent if he can develop it. Okay, I like Ayuk. I think he's fantastic. I like him over Rager and Hamler. Okay, but I also like Hamler. I also like Rager. I also like Justin Jefferson, but I worry about him playing on the outside. That's my big question with him. They're good receivers. And all I'm saying, I don't care how it gets done. Just get the right guy. Get the right guy in this draft, because we can't afford to miss it. It's going to set us back if we don't get the right receiver. No question about it. And if you can get a guy that can come in and contribute year 1, like a Judy, like a Lamb, then you got to go take the chance. You got to take the shot. It's worth it in the end. With that said, you guys let me know what you think in the comment section, and please answer my question. Who do you trust to pick? The 5th receiver, the 6th receiver, 7th receiver off the board. What makes you so confident in somebody picking the right guy when he hasn't done it in 10 years? With that said, take care. Talk to you later. And don't be a dingbat.